Hello and welcome back to Pseudo Gameplay TV. My name is Pseudo. Today we are having another look at a character spotlight, and the character of today is none other than Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange is one of my personal favorites, in fact, my all-time favorite superhero. And I've been very pleased with being able to play with him in this game, as he adds quite a bit to the team dynamic. So let's have a brief look at his abilities, what he brings to the table, and then what it looks like to use him in this game. Now, real quick before we jump into those abilities, at least in the game, it's worth noting that Doctor Strange has a mastery of magic and uses some mystical artifacts such as the Cloak of Levitation and Eye of Agamotto. Canonically, the Eye of Agamotto is quite a bit different than what is showcased in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as it is more of an enhancement rather than encasing an Infinity Stone. In addition to that, Doctor Strange has a genius-level intellect, is a skilled martial artist, and a gifted physician and surgeon. But let's have a quick look at what he can do in this game, and then, again, showcase what he's capable of and how he controls. So the 4 different attacks that Doctor Strange has, in addition to the standard attacks and ultimate attack, are as follows. Now, the first one, the Flames of the Faltine, is an enchantment that casts a funnel of flames in the direction the character is facing. And this is actually really good at applying shield pressure, as I've used Doctor Strange quite a bit in my own personal plays of this game. The second ability is the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, which this is a magic attack that has a binding effect on multiple enemies, which can be incredibly useful, especially when there's lots of characters with stagger bars that are being quite oppressive. Now, Doctor Strange's third ability is quite a bit different than any other ability that we've showcased so far, as the Winds of Watum is a vortex of magic that is directionally manipulable. But instead of dealing damage to opponents, this will heal allies in the path. And it doesn't really have any other effect on enemies, doesn't even push them out of the way, but it's quite a nice spell to use in a pinch if the rest of your team is in a bit of a pickle. Now, the fourth ability that he has mapped to his controls is the Bolts of Balthak, and this is where Doctor Strange casts a spirit version of himself and then performs a rotating beam and attacks the area around him. They do spin about 180 degrees, covering a wide area of enemies in the vicinity. And again, we will showcase all of these attacks as we jump into the character analysis. Now, in terms of the team that I have set up, it's very similar, if not identical, to what I had for Daredevil last week, but that is because there's quite a bit of team synergies provided here, including some nice boosts to the energy damage that Doctor Strange is able to output, as that is the basis of every single attack that he has. Well, now that we've had a look at this character, let's go ahead and jump into one of those Infinity Rifts, the 200 Kree ship, and showcase what it's like to control Doctor Strange and how he functions on a team dynamic. So here we are again at the 200 enemies on the Kree ship, and this is, again, primarily a showcase, though Doctor Strange is quite a strong character in this save of my game, as I've used him quite extensively. But let's show you what it's like to use Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange doesn't fare quite as well up close and personal with other brawlers that we've seen, which is fine because his enchantments are meant to be used at a ranged distance. So his basic attacks, of course, we have these different spells being emitted from a conjured glyph, which is quite nice and simple to use. And then his heavy attack is very similar to what we saw with Crystal, where he will conjure up a fireball. However, unlike Crystal's attack, this one will cause knockdown rather than just passing through the enemies in their wake. Now, his aerials, if you press and hold the B button or Just tap the B button twice, you'll notice that Doctor Strange is able to fly around using the Cloak of Levitation. And then his aerial attack is one that will bring down some spellcasted vortexes, which does quite a fair amount of damage. Now let's showcase the Flames of the Faltine here on this Hand Master, and it was able to completely incapacitate him, which is nice. And you will notice that you can put in some directional influence to where this flame cone will go. Now in terms of the second attack that Doctor Strange can pull off, we have the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. This is not an outright offensive move, however, it makes fighting all enemies in a general area a lot more manageable, as it binds them for a certain amount of time and allows them to be not as oppressive, I guess you should say. So again, Crimson Bands of Sidorak, and they can bind multiple opponents at the same time, allowing excellent setup for your teammates to finish them off. And it works as much on the grunts as it does on the larger opponents with stagger bars. Now, in the event of having a teammate that's taken a beating, that's where his third ability comes into play. And it looks like Elsa is in a bit of a pinch here. Where is she? Ah, she's right here. So let's go ahead and heal her a little bit. That's the flames. Not exactly what I was looking for. But if you'll notice in the lower corner, Elsa's health does creep back up a little bit as that attack is used. Well, Elsa's gone down, but where's Peter? He's over here as well. But it does quite well in that regard. Now his fourth and final attack is the Bolts of Balthak. It looks like I'll need to recharge a little bit of my stamina before I can use it, but that's what this one looks like. And again, it doesn't stagger some of the larger enemies, but it does quite well at getting the characters, the smaller characters around in the vicinity, damaged. Now in terms of his ultimate attack, we have this area of effect spell or enchantment that works very well. But yes, Doctor Strange is quite a fun character to use and quite useful as he adds a significant amount to the team dynamic. High damage output and efficient use.
Crimson Bands of Sidorak. Crimson Bands of Sidorak.
And it's best, at least what I've found, if you kind of hold the command icon, especially for the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, as they do take some time to target the desired characters and make an effective impact. But he's quite efficient at clearing out larger groups of enemies with all of his different attacks.
Time to make some magic.
But then again, I do have quite a bit of personal bias in terms of Doctor Strange and using him, as he's one of my all-time favorite characters. But he's a ton of fun to use. I would highly recommend incorporating him on your team. Unfortunately, he doesn't come available until a little bit later in the game, but is acquired with all of his abilities able to use right off the bat. And of course, there's the enhancements to use those, or to enhance those attacks shortly thereafter. But thanks for checking in on this character analysis. My name is Pseudo. Leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you think. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.